welcome to this week's episode of the Give Up the Game podcast series with me, your host, T Solo. Y'all know what it is. Thank you for tuning in this week. If you've been here the last 4 weeks and you've seen the other episodes, I appreciate you for watching. I appreciate, those who are commenting, who are liking, who are sharing. I appreciate the guests that we've had on the show. As you can see today, I'm here by myself. So tonight's show means a little bit something more important to me. I actually have another show recorded for tonight, but sometimes you got to go with the flow. You know what I'm saying? And so this is me going with the flow of life. This is me going with the flow of obedience. This is me going with the flow of, what's on my heart to do. And so I'm switching it up a little bit. You guys will get the episode that is supposed to air tonight. Next week, it does say episode 5, but this is actually episode 5. That will be episode 6. So here we are. You got me today, y'all. You got me. And I hope this episode, is as meaningful as it is to me and has been weighing on my spirit to make sure that I do for y'all, okay? So today, as y'all know, the podcast is called Give Up to Gain. The reason the podcast is called Give Up to Gain is because we go through life so much believing that we've got to hold on to every little thing. We've got to hold on to these relationships. We have to hold on to grief. We have to hold on to being vindictive or getting revenge. We have to hold on to all of these multiple things, and as we collect things throughout life, we weigh ourselves down, we bog ourselves down with things of the past, things that are no longer relevant, things that are no longer serving us, things that are no longer in line with where we need to be as the end result, right? And so in order to release those things, we've got to let them go sometimes. You know what I'm saying? And it doesn't mean that everything has to be let go of. It doesn't mean that, everything is designed to be let go of. But we do have to realize when things are meant to be let go of in life so that we can let them go, so that we can stop weighing ourselves down with things that are not getting us to where we need to be, right? And so in line with the mission of the podcast, I've got a story. I don't know if it's a story. I've got some things I want to talk to you guys about and tell you guys about things that have been going on with me in my life, about things that have been going on with the podcast, about just purpose. And I hope that somebody can relate to it as I begin to talk and just give you guys information. You'll gain some insight about me. And then hopefully, again, you'll hear a message in this as the message that I received the other day in regards to this. So for those that know me, y'all know that I'm adopted. I was adopted as a baby. My mom was incarcerated when I was born. And so she gave me to her mother and her mother's family. And so right there, I was born in the system. You know what I'm saying? I was born into incarceration. You know what I'm saying? I was born into already a plethora of, curses on my life, or generational curses, or things that could bind you up. You know what I'm saying? You can get caught off in. A lot of times when you hear a story like that, you either hear a person going downhill or a person excelling because of that, right? So those are things that are carried onto your life, or that are attaching themselves onto your life, right? Those are experiences. And so when I was given to my biological grandmother, you will never hear me call her that. That is my mom. I was raised with her as my mother. Rest in peace. She has passed. But so I was raised with her and her children. And during that time, most of my rearing, she was a very devout Christian, non-denominational, Pentecostal-based woman. When I want to say when I was about 6 years, so we lived in Washington at that time. And so when I was about 6 years old, we moved from Washington to Portland, Oregon. We moved from, I don't know if we were in Spanaway or in Tacoma at that time, but in that area, right? To Portland, Oregon. Now, we moved to Portland, Oregon, didn't know nobody. I didn't, I was a kid, so I didn't have no connections. Whatever connections my mama had, there was grown folk connections. We came we stayed in a couple places, you know what I'm saying? She did some evangelist work, and ultimately we ended up in this church. The name of the church when we got into the church was Pentecostal Prayer Band Mission. So if I got any Pentecostal Prayer Band members watching, tune in, shout out to us, because you know that was a time to be alive, baby. Pentecostal Prayer Band was it. I got a lot of family, I got a lot of cousins created out of Pentecostal Prayer Band Mission. So so at that time, we joined into that church. My mom joined in as an evangelist, and I was pretty much raised in a church house. You know what I'm saying? We was at church. You know how it goes: Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. You know what I'm saying? And that's just what it was. My life was church. I knew the word back and forth. I've read the Bible 1,000 times. I have actually, even at the age of about, I want to say 12 or 13, I was actually ordained a minister. There are people that can attest to this. I used to preach revivals at 12 and 13 years old as a little girl. I remember my very first revival was at the church on 33rd. I can't even remember, but it was a Pastor Mary Smith's church. Rest in peace. Shout out to that church over there on Wygant. But this was in me, you know what I'm saying? I was reared in the church house. I was reared in a Christian belief set. I was reared, serving God, believing in Jesus, very devoutly. And that was my life. A lot of times I think that there were, I was a kid, so I just kind of went with the flow of things, and I didn't really maybe catch the understanding for myself. I do think that there was a foundation set because, I understand that when the spirit is moving, or I understand when, I'm being touched, or when somebody is giving me an anointed word. You know what I'm saying? I understand those things. But I also don't feel like I built a relationship with God for myself. I feel like my relationship was taught to me. I feel like it was conditioned to me, into me. I feel like I believe what I was taught or what I was told. I believe I understood not to question God, not to question my elders. And I understood it just was what it was, and it was going to be what it was going to be. So while we were at that church, Pentecostal Prayer Band, the lady whose church it was, Medea, rest in peace, she passed, and she gave the church to my mother. And my mom became the pastor of the church. So now not only are we, my mom is the evangelist, but now she is actually running the whole church. You know what I'm saying? So at that point, as her child, I have worked every part of the church there is. I have been an usher. I have been a deacon. I played the drums. I've done a step in the church. I have been a Sunday school teacher. I have taught Bible study. I have, if there's a position in the church house that is out there, I have probably done it. Never been a first lady. There we go. Never been a pastor. There we go. But other than that, I pretty much moved in every position in the church house, and I think a lot of us did. We definitely rotated. It was a family church, a small church, and so we definitely rotated throughout that joint to make it work and make it happen. And so my mom wasn't a conventional pastor. She wasn't like everybody else, and I can say that as an adult because I'm looking back and I've had experiences now, but it was never like, it was never the conventional. I just know it was never the conventional experience. I remember that we had a service that she used to call street service, where we would take all of the system, the drums, everything outside, and have service on the street for the community. We had a barber shop, a pizza shop, and the liquor store across the street from the church. They would collect offering for my mama every Sunday, and these was drug dealers and stuff. Like these businesses were probably being laundered, through drug money, but they made sure to get a tithes and offering to that church every Sunday. You know what I'm saying? And we had services where I remember the service where it was anything but a tambourine type thing, and so we would come in with pots and pans. We would come in with spoons and ladles, and that would be our joyful noise for that Sunday service. We had foot washing services where my mom, as the pastor, as the overseer of the church, would come and she would get on her hands and knees and wash our feet as Jesus did. You know what I'm saying? And so it was really I'm grateful for my experience. I'm grateful for my experience in that church setting, because I've seen other church settings and other church environments, and I don't feel like I would have wanted a different experience. My mom was a realist, so it was never like I was too far from reality in dealing with the church. And I feel like sometimes the religious belief set can get us off of the beaten path of reality. You know what I'm saying? It's really that we're conditioned to believe in perfection, that we're conditioned to believe that, you know, things have to be one certain way, or we're not getting into the gates. And I don't believe that, and I don't think that was what was given to me or taught to me to believe. You know what I'm saying? I do believe that God has grace. I do believe that, you know, there are a lot of things that we don't understand. You know, there's a lot of room for error in things that man have touched and dealt with. And so I believe that it's important to get a relationship with God for yourself. But let me stop, because I'm moving ahead now. But I want to talk to you guys about my journey in religion, in my belief set. I don't really want to call it religion because, or we could call it religion to start, but it has grown throughout the journey of dealing with it. And so as a teenager, I began to come into a split in my life. You know what I'm saying? Where church was good, church was serving me. As long as I was in the church, the adults in my life were happy with me. I had favor in the church house. You know what I'm saying? I was always doted on. All the adults loved me because I was just such a great church girl. You know what I'm saying? I was such a great church girl. I was the pastor's daughter. I was in the church house. I wasn't ripping and running the streets, you know, and so everybody doted on me. And so in my life, that was who I was, right? But then as I'm growing into my teenagerhood, I had started out in private schools. I was in private schools for the majority of my academic career. In high school, I ended up in public school. And when I ended up in public school, things changed. I started noticing my surroundings. I started looking at my peers and what they were doing and what they had going on. And I felt like, you know what I'm saying, I was being deprived. I felt like I wanted to live my life. You know what I'm saying? I'm always at church. I got to tell people I can't go because I got service tonight, or I'm preaching a sermon tonight, or it's my turn to, you know what I'm saying, take the kids to kids church tonight. And so what happened is there was a split, and I began to lead a double life. Essentially, that's just what it was. It was a double life where I was this wonderful student of God and this child of God at church and at my mama's house. But then when I got out and went to school and out in the streets, I was a whole different person. I was ripping and running. I was a hustler. You know what I'm saying? I was a baddie. You couldn't tell me nothing. You know what I'm saying? And I was a different person. And, you know, we all know that at some point when you're living a life like that, something has got to give. Something is going to end. Something is going to begin, right? And so eventually, if I wasn't going to let God take over, you know what I'm saying, what was going to take over? You know what I'm saying? That sinful life. And that's what happened. So eventually, I just kind of moved out of the church, moved away from the church. Me and my mom weren't doing well in our relationship. I wasn't doing good in school anymore, where I had been, a great student. I was no longer excelling in school. I actually got kicked out of school, went to Job Corps, got kicked out of Job Corps, went back to school, got kicked out again, and just went and got my GED because I was ready to live this life. I was in the streets. I am cute, baby. What do you mean? You know what I'm saying? God gonna wait. You know what I'm saying? God gonna be there when I get there, right? You know what I'm saying? But as for me and mine, I'm finna live my life, baby. Y'all not finna keep suppressing me. Y'all done suppressed me, as a kid. Now I'm in these streets, brand new, nose open, very naive, because I don't know nothing about the streets. You know what I'm saying? I didn't live that life. My mom didn't live that life in front of me, so I don't know much about living in the streets. So not only am I in the streets, but I'm in the streets ill prepared. I'm in the streets as a baby, as a child, as someone who does not know any better. 15, 16 years old. I'm really a 15, 16 year old, and I'm trying to rock with these grown folks and what they doing. And when I say grown folks, I mean 15 to 16 year olds that have actually lived this this life and been in these streets they whole life. You know what I'm saying? And so I ran into a bunch of issues. I ran into a bunch of things, because that's what happens when you're not on the path that's paved for you. You get off the beaten path and you begin to experience things that aren't meant for you either, right? And in those experiences, you're not prepared to handle them, so it causes trauma and problems and trouble in your life. And that's exactly what happened. As I got off that beaten path, I ended up in relationships that were not good. I ended up, you know what I'm saying, with a child outside of any types of structural relationship. I ended up, you know what I'm saying, in situations of abuse. I ended up in situations where, you know what I'm saying, I was fighting for my life at times. I was end up in situations where I was back in the system. I was in the courts fighting for my life there. You know what I'm saying? I was in prison fighting for my life there. You know what I'm saying? And so it became a thing for me that every time I would get into a rough spot, you know what I'm saying, I would come back to God. I would pray. I would come back to my foundation. I would have praise and worship for myself. I love praise and worship. Even in the midst of everything that I went through, you can always find me listening to some gospel music. I know all the old school. I like old school gospel. So you can always find me listening to old school gospel if I'm cooking something like Thanksgiving, Christmas dinner and stuff like that. If I'm cleaning my house, I love gospel music. So it was always a time for praise and worship when I was down and out. When I was, woe is me, God have forsaken me. You know what I'm saying? It was always a time for prayer and praise, right? And so it became a pattern. These things would happen. I would pray. I would praise. God would see me through it. And then next thing you know, hey, it's my life to live. You know what I'm saying? I'm turned up. I'm outside. What do you mean? You know what I'm saying? Gotta be there when I get back. You know what I'm saying? When I'm ready for some prayer and praise, then he gonna be right there waiting for me, my prayer and praise, right? And so I did that song and dance through 3 sets in prison. I did that song and dance through, piss poor relationships. I did that song and dance through job losses and gains. I did that song and dance through years. I want to say at least a decade of my life, right? So in 2017, well, not 2017, let's go back to 2014, 13. My mom began to get sick. And at this time, I had been going in and out of prison. My mom had a surgery, 2 surgeries while I was in prison in her heart. And she had the first surgery and then it got infected and she had to turn around and have another surgery. And so, at that point, that was my last set of prison. I said, I need to get home. I need to get home to my kids. My mom can't take care of my kids. I need to go take care of my mama. You know what I'm saying? I need to get home, so I need to figure this out. And so while I was locked up, I spent a lot of time in segregation. I feel like, everybody do their time differently. I don't say this to brag or boast. It was just that I felt better in segregation. I didn't do well in GP because this ain't the life for me. You know what I'm saying? It's hard for me to conform when I've been taught I'm an adult. You know what I'm saying? When I've been independent, when I've been paying my own bills and stuff, it's hard for me to look at somebody tell me what to do and what not to do and stuff. And so it often ended me up in segregation. And I did long bids in segregation. And so I was in segregation one day and I got a letter from my mom. And during my time in prison didn't look like I saw a lot of other people's time look. I saw a lot of people getting visits. I saw a lot of people getting money, flourishing in prison. I saw a lot of people looking and getting better in prison, right? For me in prison, I got skinny because I was hungry. Every once in a while, my sister would come put $40. I'm sure when my mom was sending the money, but they'll put $40 on the books. My mom was real old school, you know what I'm saying? And so I remember one time I got a mail violation because my mom had tried to send me a package with some greens and cornbread. And they don't do that, mama, where we was at. They don't do that where we was at. So I didn't get the greens and cornbread, right? So I sat in prison and I hustled for everything that I had. I braided hair. I met some ladies with some money. Different types of things for to make ends meet. And so I wasn't really used to hearing from my family. Every once in a while, shout out to my homegirl Shanti, because every once in a while my homegirl Shanti, she would send me pictures. She would go print off pictures, and she might not say much, but she would definitely go print off some pictures and send them to me. She would go see my mama and go see my kids and take pictures and send them to me. But not a lot of people kept up with me. You know what I'm saying? I had some friends, my friend Sabrina, my friend Maggie at the time, you know what I'm saying? So shout out to them because they did keep up with me. And but it just wasn't expected. You know what I'm saying? And so when I got the letter from my mom when I was in segregation, I immediately started crying. I saw my mama's handwriting on that envelope and I just started crying because I'm like, mama wrote me, you know what I'm saying? And in my mind, I just saw what I wanted. And so what I wanted was, oh, how you doing? I love you. I miss you. I hope you're doing well. I can't wait till you get home type stuff, right? Now, mind you, this is my third set. I've been in prison 3 times at this point. I done had a baby in prison. My mom has my kids. My mom done had surgery, right? So I opened the letter and I began to read the letter. And the letter is about, I want to say it's about two to 3 pages front to back. And as I'm reading the letter, my mom is going off. My mom is really going off. She is, I wish I could tell you what the letter said, and I might even have the letter at home, but my mom is, I just remember my mom going off. I remember reading the letter and my heart crushing. My mom was just, you know, she was on my head. She was just telling me like, what are you doing? What are you doing? These kids need you. You need you. I need you. What are you doing? I didn't raise you like this. You know what I'm saying? And in my mind, it's how I felt. I felt like, you know, I was bigger than being in prison. I felt like I was above this life. But at the end of the day, I was stuck and I couldn't figure out how to get myself out of that situation. And I no longer was looking for a resolution. I was just blaming. I was blaming the system. I was blaming the fact that I was a black woman. I was blaming the fact that I was adopted and life hadn't been easy for me. I was blaming the fact that, you know, I didn't get to live a regular life. I was this Christian poster child. And, you know, I blamed everything, but I never took accountability and I never regained the reins of my life in all of that. You know what I'm saying? I just was blaming. And so I can't tell y'all everything that the letter said just because I don't remember. I know that after the letter, there was a suicide attempt. And that suicide attempt took me into the infirmary. And when I was in the infirmary, I've told you guys about this before. I got a book and the book taught me some things and it told me some things. And so when I got home, right, something had changed. Something had changed for me. I can't exactly pinpoint it. That's why I'm saying something, but I knew something had changed. My mind had changed. I didn't want to keep going back to prison. I didn't want to be, you know, in a position to not care for my own children. I didn't want to be in a position where they was calling me on the phone to the OIC office to tell me that my mother had passed away. I didn't want to be in these positions no more, right? And so I knew something had to change. And in the midst of that, I got out. Life was hard. I had lost everything for the 3rd time. No place, no car. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have, like, nobody had ever taken custody of my kids, but I didn't have nowhere to live, so I couldn't have my kids with me. You know what I'm saying? My mom had them. So that means they wasn't being reared like I would rear them, right? You know what I'm saying? And so life was just hard. I had a little corny telemarketing job, you know, making minimal money. I was in a transitional housing center. It was just all kind of stuff going on. And I was just thinking, like, how do I figure this out? How do I figure this out? In the midst of that, my mom was sick. My mom had gotten, you know, down pretty bad to the point where she wasn't really mobile. You know, she wasn't doing too much and she needed a lot of help. And so I moved back in with my mom. And at the time I had a girlfriend, and my girlfriend ended up moving in with my mom, and we just stayed at my mom's house and we helped my mom get her stuff together. And in the midst of that, I wasn't feeling it. I couldn't, something was still weighing me down. I just felt like my mind had changed, but my environment hadn't changed, and I could not thrive. And so I made a very split-second decision. There was a lot of factors in play that made me make the decision, but the decision was pretty quick, to leave Portland, Oregon, to leave my mom's house, and to kind of spread my own wings and branch out for myself. And being adopted, I had reached out to my biological family. My biological family was always like, you know, I had met them before. I had been out there to California before, and they was always like, you know, come on, you come whenever you're ready, But this time when I reached out, it was more like, you know, you grown now. You know what I'm saying? Your kids are our family, and they need to know that. You are our family, and there are kids over here that need to know you. You know what I'm saying? We need to know you. Come on. And so I moved. I up and moved, me, my kids, and my girlfriend, and a little bit of belongings we had in my 98, what was that? I don't remember what the name of the car was, but we called the car Sunny. It was a little green car. And we packed up and we moved to California, to Sacramento, California. And a lot of things went into that. A lot of things went into play. My girlfriend had got a job before we had even got out there. So when I went to get a job, I basically applied for a job as something that I was not qualified to do. I was a night audit at a hotel, and I was definitely not qualified. I had never worked in hospitality before, and that's what my girlfriend did. So what she did was, once I got the job, she came in the middle of the night, because night audits work, that 10 to 7 shift, and she came in and trained me every night until I learned the system, until I learned how to, do the job. And that's how it went. And unfortunately, she ended up, well, not unfortunately, but the way life had it, she ended up leaving and going back to Oregon. I stayed. Me and my kids stayed. I ended up losing that job. I got a better job. And during this time, I want y'all to know that my faith was still there, but it was like, it was still that circumstantial faith. You know what I'm saying? We're going to call it circumstantial faith. It was like, as long as things was going good, oh, thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God, I got the place. Thank you, God, I got a better job. Thank you, God, for being able to get these kids. But when I was in the midst of things, woe is me, God has forsaken me, God hates me. You know what I'm saying? Those were the type of things that I was going through. And once I got situated and stable, we did get a church home. And in that church home, I could kind of go in and disappear. You know what I'm saying? I could go in, take my kids in, pay my tithes and offering, and leave up out of there, and nobody still knew who I was. And that was okay with me. You know what I'm saying? I was doing what I was supposed to do. I was giving my dues to God. Friday, Saturday night, you might could catch me drunk, high somewhere. You know what I'm saying? But on Sunday morning, me and my kids was in that church house, right? And I justified all of that, anything I had going on, because Sunday morning I was in that church house, right? And so there would be times where I would try to get closer to God, but it was, again, in a conditioned way. It was a way that I was taught to believe. I never really garnered that relationship for myself. So I was always on a superficial basis with him. You know what I'm saying? It was always somebody else's belief sets, the way I was taught. I was always looking back on what I saw and mimicking my relationship with God. And that can't serve you but for so long. I think that it served me the purpose of, having the foundation. But at the end of the day, did that serve in benefiting my relationship? I don't feel that way, right? So in 2017, my mom passed away. It had been a little while. We had been going through it for months. Back and forth with the doctors telling us that she was going. And they called me one day while I was at work and said, your mom is in a coma. You need to come.
What's good, viewers? It is Portia the Poet with Lyrical Healing and the Ascension Portal, and we are proud sponsors of Give Up to Gain. This all-inclusive event space is geared towards community, gatherings, and healing. Yes, we have a massage therapy space upstairs brought to you by the Ascension Portal, including massage therapy and all of your spiritual advisory and healing needs. This event space is geared towards community, family, gatherings, and creative spaces. We have artwork and additional room in the front of the venue space for your use. The events are exclusive. They are stellar. You don't want to miss anything we got going on. Hey, and if you want to book your own event and put together your own gathering, tap in. Family, community, creativity. We bring you the vibes, the most intentional platform there is. You have Lyrical Healing and the Ascension Portal. Make sure you guys tap in, book now, not later. We can't wait to share space with you guys. And once again, you got to give up to gain. Peace.
I literally came in my work. If y'all know me, I work corporate jobs. So I came in some slacks and a button up. Went and got my baby, which was Tootie. Tootie was a little baby. Left my big kids with my family. and put Tootie in the car and got right on the road. I left at 2 o'clock. And by, I want to say 10, 11 o'clock, I was bedside to my mother from Sacramento, California, back to Portland, Oregon. She was in a hospice home, and I went and sat by my mom's bed with my baby, holding my baby, and I'm just crying. I'm just, oh, mama, 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 mama. You know what I'm saying? I can't believe I ain't get to say nothing, and she gonna pass like this. And I'm telling y'all, if you ever met my mama, y'all know my mama crazy, okay? So these people that told me my mama to come, I done pedal to the metal. I don't even think I stopped. Okay, I got me some Red Bulls and some coffee, and I don't think that I stopped. And these people done told me my mom is in a coma, but I get next to my mom's bedside and I'm sitting there crying with my head down. And my mom looked at me, and I told y'all this story before. My mom called me Herbert. If you watched the other episodes, you know my mom, when I came into, out with my lifestyle, and as a stud woman, she began to call me Herbert. So all of a sudden, as I'm crying, and all I hear is, "What you doing here, Herb?" And I look up, and there go my mama with that smile, with her partials out. And she's saying, what's going on? What you doing here, Herbert? How you get here from California? And I was like, Mama, they told me. So it was a big thing. And she said, give me the baby. And she held my baby. And I got pictures. Her and my baby was asleep in the bed for a while, and I just watched them. And my mom's wish was that she got out of that hospital. I had to do a little bit of fighting and stuff, but I got my mom up out of that hospital. And shout out to my homegirl Savannah. Shout out to my homegirl Leola. They actually helped me with that. And one of them is a girl that I met in prison. Not even a girl, a family member now. You know what I'm saying? A friend turned family that I met in prison. The other one was, somebody I used to talk to back in the day. And they came and waited with me at that hospital and I was fighting the people until we got my mama out. And they followed that ambulance with my mama in it, with my baby in my car and in the other car. So we had a whole brigade from the hospital to the villa, to the Columbia Villa. If you ain't from the dirty North Portland, boy, you all know. But they followed me all the way to the Ville in that ambulance to take my mama home. And we took my mom home and we put her in her bed, and I sat there with my mom all day. I took care of my mom all day. And my mom spoke to me in the middle of the night, and my mom said, Tiff, Big Tiff, she said, I love you, girl. And she said, I'm so proud of you. And, me and my mom's relationship had been tumultuous. I was putting her through hell and high water. I can only imagine having my child, as a mother now, having my child, in and out of prison, in and out of a crazy lifestyle that she done seen me live, and things that have happened to me, that she had to come rescue me from. So, hearing her say that she was proud of me, that was a big thing for me. That was like, I feel like God set aside that time for me to be able to hear that from my mom. And so she said that. She told me, she said, I want you to go in the other room, and I want you to go get you some rest. I want you to get you some sleep. I'll see you in the morning. And I said, okay. And I went in the other room, and it was crazy because a calm fell over me like no other. And I know that this sound like, it sound wild, but it just is what it is. A calm fell over me like no other, and I slept. And I woke up in the middle of the night, and when I woke up, I saw a shadow walk into the room that my mother was in. And instead of getting up, I went back to sleep. I don't know why. I don't know what happened. I can't even explain it to y'all because I feel like it sounds like, this unbelievable story, but that's really what happened to me. I would never tell the story no other way. And I went back to sleep. I was in my mom's reclining chair. I reclined the chair and went back to sleep. And I woke up in the morning. My mom's friend woke me up in the morning, and she said she gone. And I went into there to my mom's bedside, and my mom was gone. My mom was gone. She called the ambulance. I was crying. I was crying over my mama. I was praying over my mama. I was screaming. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna act like I was put together. I was belligerent. I was crazy. You know what I'm saying? The ambulance came and my mom was a big woman. They came and picked my mama up and slammed her on the ground and started trying to resuscitate her. And in my mind, I wanted my mom back. You know what I'm saying? I wanted her back into life. But I knew what my mom's wishes were. And my mom's wishes was to not be resuscitated. My mom was DNR. And it was like my mouth opened to speak without my mind willing it to. Because I told them, stop. She doesn't want that. That's not what she wants. And we let my mama pass. And I sat there with my mom. I want to say it was about 9 o'clock in the morning. And I sat there with my mom till the funeral home came and got her. And that was about 1 o'clock. And that was probably the most hectic day of my life. You know what I'm saying? Family was coming in. Family was calling. People was calling. It was so much stuff going on. All I remember is, why hasn't the world stopped? My mother is gone. Nobody has stopped moving. Cars are going. That's all I remember. Cars are going. Birds are chirping. The wind is blowing. My mom is off this earth. My world has stopped. Why hasn't y'all's? You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's just because of the impression that my mom left on me. My mom was a great woman. You know what I'm saying? And a great being. And I don't want to get caught up in this story, but this is a lot of where this is going into. And so that day, and the weeks moving forward, a lot of things happened. A lot of things happened with family. A lot of things happened just in the midst of things that, made me feel good. But I had to go home. And my mama wasn't there. There was no way for me to call my mama. There was no phone calls coming from my mama. There was no packages at the door unexpected from my mama. You know what I'm saying? And I began to get mad. I got mad because I'm in this world by myself now. Yeah, I got other family members and stuff, but I feel like once the matriarch, you know what I'm saying, is gone, families separate. And I felt like that's what we did. You know what I'm saying? So all I had was my mama. And now my mama is gone and I'm in this world by myself. And I find myself feeling pitiful. That's all I can say. God, you started me off in this world by myself. You know what I'm saying? You started me off in the world with, a hooker and a pimp. You know what I'm saying? That couldn't take care of me for whatever reason, didn't take care of me for whatever reason. You know what I'm saying? And now you leaving me again. I'm by myself again. And I got mad. I got mad at God. I got mad at God. And I began to move in a way that was like, yeah, I still believe, but I don't want to hear that. I'm not going back to church. I'm tired. It didn't work for my mom. I watched my mom help so many people, and nobody was really there for my mom when she passed away. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it no more. I'm tired. I've been flooded all my life with God and Jesus. Let me figure this out. And so what I did was, I took a word that my mom had always given me. I always heard in church, be hot or be cold. When it come to God, be hot or be cold. If you're lukewarm, he gonna spit you out of his mouth, right? Meaning, either choose God or don't. You know what I'm saying? My mom always said, if you choose him, he's working with you. If you don't choose him, he can work with you. He can come get you. But if you straddling the fence, if you pretending and in and out of this, the life and the belief system, God can't deal with you in the midst of that confusion. So one day I laid in my bed and I said to God out loud, to myself, I'm done with you. I'm done with you. I'm over you. I'm tired. I'm tired. I don't know if you're real or not. I don't know what to believe in. I don't know what is going on. But at the end of the day, I am tired and I'm not going to do this anymore. If you want me, come and get me. I'm done. I'm done. I'm living this life for myself. This is my power that is getting me up every day. This is my power that is making these bills happen. This is my power. This is all me. I'm the God in my life. I am God. Bye. And that's what it's been for me. Being raised in the church, it made it hard because, you know, I reference God and Jesus a lot, and I still did. But it was always with the thought in my mind that was conditioning in me. That wasn't me. That wasn't me talking to God. That wasn't me reverencing God. It was just me talking, right? And because I had done that so much in my childhood with mimicking everybody else's relationship with God, it was nothing for me to live and walk in that belief system. And at first it started out real gradually and slowly. Then it became a thing where, you know, I was arguing with Christians online. And then it became a thing where I was dipping into other belief sets and belief systems. And then it became a thing where I was openly denouncing a relationship with God, Christ, anything, straight up and down. Straight up and down. And that's what it was. That's just what it was. Up until recently, y'all. This lasted for years. This has lasted for, I'm gonna say, what's this? It's for 7 years. I have not stepped into a church house in 7 years. I have not sat down and prayed. I haven't opened the Bible. I haven't talked to God. You know what I'm saying? When I say pray, in my mind, that's a meditation. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't mean that I abandoned a spirituality, a spiritual belief system, because I did have a spiritual belief system for myself, but it was never in the reverence of God. It was reverencing me as a person, flesh and blood, just like everybody else, making it through this life. That's all it was, right? And so that went well for me. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm not finna tell you no stories. That went well for me. In the midst of that, I became branded as T Solo, the event coordinator, the host, the promoter, the toy distributor, the popular nigga, the nigga that be with the ladies all day, every day. You know what I'm saying? The hustler, the great mom that takes her kids on all the trips. You know what I'm saying? This is how I became branding myself in the midst of losing my relationship with God, with a higher power. And so I felt like I was justified in doing this. I was doing the right thing. Duh. All I needed to do is stop giving, and this is what I was preaching to people. All I needed to do was stop giving my power to God. When I stopped giving my power to God and started internalizing the power, I could use the power to get myself out of these certain situations. Look at me flourish. Right? That's what I was saying. So, here we are 7 years later, across the country, okay? I moved my children across the country, and all this stuff has happened. A lot of stuff has happened. This has not been a smooth move. This has not been easy for me. I have moved since I've lived in North Carolina more times than I've probably ever moved in my life. And I'm on the verge of another move. I have lost connection with my kids more than I have ever. I mean, you know, I know they teenagers, but sheesh Louise. You know what I'm saying? I don't understand what's going on. I have lost connection with myself. I have gone through back-to-back relationships that were, I don't even know how I got in them. Except for needing something so bad that I was willing to accept anything, right? So recently, some things happened, and I could be honest, I could be transparent here. I was released from my job. I was not fired. I was laid off. We were bought out by a bigger company. And, you know, being a ex-con, being somebody with 7 felonies on their record, You know what I'm saying? I work a corporate environment. I work corporate jobs. I'm safety and compliance, administrative work. You know what I'm saying? HR. That's what I do. And I've gotten into those positions as a felon. But getting into the positions is hard. It's not easy. You know what I'm saying? I got to go through a lot of no's. I got to go through a lot of paperwork. I got to wiggle my way in. I got to lie. I got to, you know what I'm saying, manipulate the situation, the facts, all of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? To just to be able to take care of my kids, to get the bare minimum to pay my bills, to get money that I'm overqualified to be making in this role. That's what I gotta do every time. And it might be months. It's been times where it was a year or more where I'm looking for a job. I can't afford that now. I'm tired, y'all. I'm almost 40 years old. I'm tired. I don't want to be doing this again, right? So at that crossroad where I lost my job, I said, okay, all right. I got one or two ways I can go. I can get depressed and I can let it or succumb to this, or I can figure out the lesson here. I didn't lose my job because I got fired, because I was a bad employee, because I wasn't going to work. I lost my job on circumstance. And this is how it keeps happening. I never get fired. I always get promoted. I got promoted in that job. You know what I'm saying? So what's going on? There must be a bigger lesson here. What's the lesson? So I started to think about why I moved to North Carolina. And I moved to North Carolina to grow my brand, to grow myself as an entrepreneur, because the states are so close over here on this side that I can move my name across states a lot easier. But I haven't been able to do a lot of that because there's been so much turmoil in my life going on, right, with the move. And so I said, okay, maybe it's time to get back to the basics. So let me figure out what my purpose is. I'm about to be 40 years old, y'all. And really, everything that I've done, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I've done a lot of events. Yeah, my name is good in business. Yeah, I sell the toys. Yes, I have, I've done some stuff, y'all. But it kind of feel like what it amounts to is that, I'm just a personality. I'm just this image. I'm just this goofy, funny, crazy, say anything, never know what you're going to get type person on social media. And you know what I'm saying? Like, I know that there are people out there that see a big heart in me. I know that there are people out there that see a bigger purpose in me. But I feel like the things that I have done have only amounted to like a superficial type of success, right? It hasn't amounted to anything that I would deem my purpose. So I looked for the like correlation, the thing that ties everything together. And I felt like it came to, okay, I have a voice. I have a voice that people are willing to listen to. I have a voice that people are willing to follow. I have a voice that can be marketed and that can market. You know what I'm saying? So what would be the next step? I had one of my friends and followers purchase me a podcast kit a year and a half ago. I said, okay, it's time to do the podcast, but I don't know where to start. I had therapy that night. My therapist said, T, you don't strike me as the type of person who don't know how to get on the internet and figure out what you need to do. You're allowing fear to stop you, right? You're allowing fear to stop you from moving into your next segment, your purpose of your life, right? So I said, okay. I got off the phone with her immediately. Stuff started coming up on my algorithm, my Facebook algorithm, about seminars about how to podcast, right? So I signed myself up for a seminar. It was a 2.5-hour seminar, right? Now, of course, at the end of the seminar, they want you to buy $1,500 worth of stuff, but I ain't got $1,500 to give y'all. So I'm gonna take every seed and nugget that y'all gave me. I took notes and I took information. I gave myself homework and I did what I did to get in front of y'all today in this podcast, right? Super excited. I'm hella proud of myself. Look at me go again. Look at me go. I'm doing this. I'm doing this, right? I'm coming up out of this. Yeah, but the podcast isn't making any money yet. So what do I do about these bills? How do I get a job, right? So, boom. My resume is gravy. My resume is cute. Demure, very mindful, okay? And so I I start throwing my resume out while I'm doing the podcast and while I'm getting my household in order, while I'm still seeking therapy, while I'm still, on the scene, BNT solo, selling toys and doing what I do. And boom, I get a hit. Go to an interview, kill the interview. Boom, they want me, right? I knew they wanted me before I left. But they want me, and they tell me they want me. They give me an offer letter. Cool. Now I feel like I'm walking in my purpose, and I promise myself that when I'm walking in my purpose, I will not forget my purpose. So even when I go get this job, the purpose isn't to stay in a job. The purpose is to fulfill my purpose and get my voice out here, right? And I believe that if it's really and truly my purpose, I don't need to worry about monetizing myself. It's going to take care of me. That's what it has to do. In order for me to fulfill it, it has to make way for me to be fulfilled. And it know I got these kids to take care of. It know I got these bills that come every month, right? The purpose is going to take care of me, and I'm believing in that, right? Y'all, when I tell you, all of a sudden, everything that could go is gone. Everything that could go wrong has gone wrong. And I'm gonna say this is in the last 3 weeks. So much stuff has happened, y'all. I can't even really call it. The job that I'm offered, they haven't told me that they have rescinded the job offer. But I didn't tell them about my criminal background. I feel like it's 10 years behind. Who's looking back there, especially with what y'all paying? You know what I'm saying? Who's looking back there? I get the criminal report. There it go. Everything I've ever done. Going back to 2006. Everything that I've ever done. Every crime that I've ever committed. Every time that I've been arrested. Every 3 sentences that they gave me in prison is right there on that report. And it don't look good. It does not look good. Immediately, I got defeated. Things in my household went awry. Some very serious real life situations have happened in my household with my children. I feel like I'm losing my kids, my 2 teenagers. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I can't reach them the way I need to reach them, like I want to reach them. I've been put in a position where I have to move again. You know what I'm saying? Life is just it's not feeling good. And I'm tired. I'm tired of being in a position to keep looking for a job at 40 years old. I'm tired of looking for another place to live at 40 years old. I'm tired. I want to live my best life like I was living. Why did I leave California to come out here and struggle, to come out here and not thrive? How did I leave where I was doing very well, where money was good and everything was gravy, to come out here and I don't even know, struggle, y'all. That's all I can say, struggle, right? And lose myself. So last week, everything was going on. It was heavy. I gave up. I laid in the bed and I did not get up. A lot of people reached out to me. A lot of people were, trying to get a hold of me. And I did not answer. I have not responded still. And I laid in the bed and I cried, and there was other things going on, and nothing was in my favor though. Nothing was good. And so I sat in the bed and I cried. I didn't shower. I barely ate. A lot of y'all know I'm going through this journey with this surgery. I have a meeting with my surgeon in a minute, actually. And I began to smoke cigarettes. I was smoking weed. And all that stuff is counterproductive to what I'm trying to do. So I really just had given up. And that's just what it was. And at that moment that I gave up, I heard a friend of mine who's been telling me, like, when are you gonna come back to God? She calls me Evangelist. Oh, Evangelist, you're gonna come back. you know, evangelist, that God is still going to use you. You're still an evangelist. She calls me that to this day. And it was probably about, I'm gonna say almost 6 o'clock in the morning here, and I called her. It was 3 there on the West Coast. I called her, and she said hello. At first she didn't answer. Then she called me back. She said, hello, what's going on, T Solo? And I couldn't even speak. I couldn't even talk, y'all. I just was crying into the phone. And she began to talk to me, and she heard that I had been playing the gospel music on the TV, and she was singing the gospel songs until I was ready to talk. And I talked to her, and I got up that morning and I went to church. I haven't stepped foot inside of a church house in 7 years, y'all. And I went to church, and I sat in the car in the parking lot of the church until the man came and started taking pictures of my car because he didn't know who the hell I was. And so I finally got out the car and went into the church house, and I sat in the back row. And the pastor came by, and he asked me, did I want to sit up? I said, no, thank you. People spoke to me. I spoke, and I kept it going. They started praise and worship. They started singing some old school songs. If you don't know me, you know now. I love old school church. I love, you know, the hymns of back in the day. I love the elders. I love testimony service. I love old school church. And this was an old school church. And I sat in the back of the church, and I sang the songs, and I cried to myself, you know what I'm saying? And I listened to the word. And the word, he talked about self-righteousness, where we began to turn the religion for us, or the belief set for us, instead of adhering to the set of beliefs, right? And I began to think, like, what is going on in my life other than I have become self-righteous? I have become the religion. The religion has been molded to what I want to do, not anything that I even believe in. What I want to do, what I want it to be, right? So when I look back, I began to say, dang, look at what happened. I denounced God, right? I took myself out of the grace of God. I took myself out of God's favor. And what happened? He released me. He had no choice. He gives us choice and free will. He had no choice but to release me. He released me. And when he released me, it left me to the wiles of the enemy, right? And I hate saying like enemy and devil and Satan, but there's nothing else to call it when you have a wheel of destruction out on my life, right? And so in being released to the enemy, it wasn't going to do me no good for the enemy to get me out there and stomp me down and beat me out and send me crying back to God. No. So what happened? He let me flourish. I flourished. Life was great. Life was great. I made lots of money. I was around beautiful women all the time. I was opening businesses. People wanted to work with me. I was taking trips, taking my kids on trips. Life was good. Up until I decided to walk in my purpose. Why? Why then? Because me walking in my purpose did not appease the path of destruction that the enemy had for my life. It didn't fall in line with that. So why would he keep letting me flourish in doing something that wasn't in his game plan? Right? So now here I am. I don't got the hedge of protection from God. I don't got the hedge of protection from the enemy. I done made ops with two of the biggest niggas out here. You know what I'm saying? And now here little old me is out here by myself talking about, I'm God. I got it. I can do this by myself. No, I can't. I'm laying in the bed ready to die. Ready to die. Wanting to close my eyes and not wake up. can't do it by myself. It's bigger than me. It's heavier than me. So I got up and took my butt to church. See, when I made the decision to be hot or cold, it wasn't because I didn't believe in God. I made the decision because I wanted God to come get me. I wanted to feel special enough that he did not want me to fall by the wayside, right? And when he didn't come get me, I felt like it must not be a God. He must not be real. And now here I am at the bottom of the pit, at the bottom of the barrel. And God is saying, choose me. Come back. I'm here. Like the prodigal son. Come back. I'm here. All you got to do is choose me. And I'm not saying that to say that I expect my life to be perfect. I don't expect all of these situations to heal up. You know what I'm saying? But what I do expect is that I'm going to be able to take care of them. I'm going to be able to tolerate them. I expect that God is my backbone now, and I can stand where I was laying. I can praise and I can rejoice where I was crying. I feel like that in walking in my purpose, I now have support instead of being by myself. And I wanted to get this message out today because a lot of you guys have heard me say on my platform very publicly that I don't believe in God. Stop praying for me. Stop telling me. Stop assuming that I believe in God. Stop assuming Christianity on me. Right? So as vocal as I was about that and denouncing God, I'm going to be just as vocal about coming back into God's favor, coming back into God's light, coming back to the throne of God, kneeling, letting God know that I need him. And I don't know what this means. This just happened. When I'm talking about this, I'm talking about yesterday. I'm talking about Sunday. This just happened. So I don't know what life is going to look like. I don't know what things are going to look like. I don't know what the purpose is going to look like. I don't know where I'm going to come into, right? But I know that just as vocal as I was about those other things and the negative things and how I felt about God, I want to be just as vocal about coming back into God. And I want to tell people that when we're walking with God, we got to remember that we're not walking in self-righteousness. We're thriving because that keeps us content. But you need to remember to look and make sure before you call yourself a Christian, a believer, aligned with God, before you say that those are blessings on your life, and make sure that you're aligning yourself with God and his will and his purpose for your life. Because chances are, that's when the attacks are going to come. When you've aligned yourself with your purpose. When you're out of the will, the enemy don't have no reason. He has no reason to not let you flourish, to not let you be blessed, right? He needs to keep you content. So when things are going very well in your life, give God the praise for what he's done and what he continues to do over you by not letting the enemy take you out of here. But you make sure that you're not praising and thanking God for allowing the enemy to keep you in a place of contentment that's destroying your life. That's keeping you away from the grace of God. That's keeping you out of alignment with his will and out of your purpose. And here I am, a living and walking testimony of it. Just a couple days out of it. Don't mean I'm going to be a perfect person. Don't mean I'm going to be, this automatic saint, y'all. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm a down-to-earth person. This is God called me to be. Somebody that the people can relate to. Somebody that can talk to people. Somebody that people can see themselves in. And I believe that. I believe that. But I guarantee you he didn't call me to be blind or a fool. He didn't call me out here to be a jester on social media showing my ass. I guarantee that. I guarantee that. It might be fun. I might still do it. But that ain't my purpose. And so as I walk into my purpose with this podcast, I appreciate those who have reached out to me. I appreciate those who have been obedient and didn't even know they were being obedient to the will of God by helping me or supporting me or being a guest on this show or being a sponsorship to me. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. And I'm grateful I'm grateful for the opportunity to walk in my purpose, because I could have been taken out way before I got this chance. I'm excited to see what this podcast does for people. I'm excited to see what this podcast does for me. I'm excited to see the changes in my life. I'm excited to be on the mend. To be on the mend, y'all. It's been a rough little journey. And I'm grateful for where I'm at right now. So thank you again for tuning in to the Give Up the Game podcast series. Know that when you are tuning in, subscribing, liking, and sharing, you are feeding into a bigger purpose than just watching a podcast, than just tuning in to T Solo, just supporting T Solo. I'm hoping that y'all get a message from this. In one of these episodes, whatever episode you click in on, whatever day, I pray that there is some meat for you in my journey, in the journey of the guests on the show. Because that's what this is about. Gaining. Giving up self to gain God. I'm out, y'all.